People
Yeah.
think, or at least I think, it's, oh yes, I'm going to progress in the spiritual life, as if there's not already a plan. Like, things are going to happen to me that, if I choose to accept them and embrace them as God's
Right.
cross that He's chosen for me, I will progress. If not, I will not. And it's
Yeah.
not like I think when I decide, I'm like, I'm going to sit down and progress in the spiritual, like, oh, great, I'm going to go through the Bible in a year, and then I'm
Mm.
going to, I'm going to read the Imitation of Christ,
Mm.
maybe 3 pages a day, and I'm going to listen to this audiobook in the car. It's like, I have come up with a syllabus, and God's like, that's cute. Really, you're going to have a fight with your wife. Like,
Whoa.
that's actually what's going to happen.
Welcome to The Crunch, the only podcast where you mailed in our company a postcard a few weeks back requesting information on podcasts that had huge upside potential with very little downside risk. It's your boy, Ethan.
And I'm Patrick. What is this?
John, this is potentially the best thing I have seen come across my desk in 6 months. It's a little aerospace company, cutting edge, doing radar detectors out of the Midwest called Aerotine Industries. The
Is
Crunch
this the
Podcast
B-movie
Industries. I'm doing the Wolf of Wall Street when he's selling.
Oh.
But instead of a penny stock that has very little downside risk, it's a podcast that has very little downside risk, and it's our podcast, and people
Yeah.
invest by giving us money on Patreon.
Very little downside risk. Who are you and who am I?
We already did this. My name's Ethan, and you're Patrick.
And I'm Patrick. I don't think we did. My
Okay.
memory is not. All
Let's
right.
argue about it.
Okay, yeah, welcome to our podcast with very little downside, very little upside. Ethan and I are two Catholic guys who've been running a comedy podcast for, going on 7.5 years now. More like 7 3/4.
Oh, I'm so old.
Oh boy, we've been around the block,
Oh, boy.
and we talk about Catholic faith, Catholic life, and usually our kids. We've been 15 minutes at the end of the show talking about our kids. Ethan.
No, not anymore.
Oh, no, not anymore.
Yeah, he moved out.
I saw him sucking down a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
He was about as big as the cup. The cup was,
Right.
He could have gotten in it.
Right after that, he got a little bindle on a stick with a little red polka dot handkerchief, and he walked out the door. And he said, "I'm getting out of here."
He had a little top hat with the top
missing. The flap was off.
Missing.
Yeah,
he was all dirty, and he
was telling me the things to do that are right and wrong, and then I got turned into a donkey by an evil guy.
Yeah,
what?
He was. Oh, we're riding the rails. Got no place to lay my head. This is a hobo song.
You know,
remember
a hobo
the word
song?
hobo was okay to say?
Is it not anymore?
It's not okay. It was okay when iCarly said it, but it's not okay anymore. It's now person experiencing homeless.
Yeah, I was gonna say iCarly is to the word hobo as Shane Gillis is to the R word.
Yeah.
Just really brought
Miranda
it back
Cosgrove
in a big way.
really made that okay.
Yeah, I think hobo is fine because I think hobo is like, from what I know about the hobo sort of class, is that they take pride in their lack of roots and their ability to be freewheeling about the country, in trains, planes, and automobiles.
What functionally is the difference between a hobo and Jack Reacher, except one does not have military training, and the other one is Jack Reacher? I don't know.
Do you watch Jack Reacher? Are you like a watch the current show in the zeitgeist type of guy?
No, I tried watching Reacher, and I just couldn't. I couldn't get into it.
Why?
And I'm pretty into the books
the whole time. Big guy.
No, it was just the things that it was gross. There was something that was from the book that was easier to read than to see. Let's just say that.
What about the scene where he punches through the window and he takes that guy out with the car door?
I don't know which one you're referring to. I watched the first episode and a half. I saw
a clip saw a clip on Meta's Instagram, and I was able to kind of perceive that he was very strong and very big. But other than that, I don't know much.
Jack Reacher's
about
whole thing,
Jonathan Reacher.
Jack, his full name is Jack. He has no middle name, and his last name is Reacher. Yeah.
No. Is
he
a corporal or lieutenant?
He was a major in the.
Yeah. So don't say that's his full name. Have some respect.
No, sorry. He's Major Jack Reacher. He has no other name, and they make it a point to talk about how even his own mother called him Reacher.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a little bit much. Yeah.
It's a lot. Oh, Jack, the Jack Reacher books, I have read several of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently in the middle of one right now. They are fun. They're very fun.
I don't understand why people need to watch Jack Reacher when you've got all that you need right here.
Yep, those muscles right there.
Everybody, if I were to take this shirt off right now, Jack Reacher would instantly go off the air. Like, it would cause a chain of reactions that would lead Amazon to canceling the program Jack Reacher because of what I've been able to do with this sort of material.
Absolutely incredible.
And it's a gift. I write it off on my taxes every day that I don't take off my shirt because it's a donation in kind to the Amazon Corporation.
As if it's a nonprofit. The Reacher books scratch an itch that the itinerant night books used to scratch in the cultural.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Don Quixote happened today, it would be because a guy thinks he's Jack Reacher.
He would read Tom Clancy novels and he would get really into.
Like, that's the Don Quixote of today.
Mm-hmm.
Is that this guy thinks he's Jack Reacher.
It's funny that, like, the Don Quixote of today is this super powerful, do-it-all macho man who has military training and he's an American. But the Don Quixote of 100 years ago would be like Sherlock Holmes equivalent. It's just like a guy walking around solving mysteries because that's all they had. That's the only book they had back then. They didn't have any good books.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny.
No, you're right. I think detective novels. We romanticize Agatha Christie, but she was a genre. She was a genre fiction writer. You're right. 100 years ago, it would have been guys who try to pretend to be detectives. And actually, that happened. That was a whole genre of TV shows where people pretended. You know, Psych. That Psych is kind of Sean Spencer is kind of a Don Quixote-esque figure.
Is that the one with the two guys that do the Fortnite dance?
No.
What am I thinking?
No, I don't know what you're thinking about, but it's not that. Psych is the guy who pretends to be psychic.
Isn't that The Mentalist?
No, The Mentalist copied Psych.
Oh.
And they made a joke about it in Psych. It was pretty funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean's like, did you read The Mentalist? Yeah, he stole my whole thing or something. Yeah.
I maybe should be more up to date on TV. You know?
No, I don't think that the Reacher show is worth it. I don't.
Oh, okay.
The Killing Floor was the first Reacher novel, and it wasn't the best. It's like it's not the most interesting. You know? Oh, this seemingly perfect small town has something to hide. Give me a break. Come on. Been there, done that. All right.
Yeah, I know.
I like the one where he's trying to assassinate the vice president of the United States of America.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Well,
That one's good.
They can't make that into a TV show now because everyone would be like, "Yeah, do it in real life," and like that. I don't think that would pass muster in an election year.
Can I make this joke that?
Yes.
Hypothetically, currently,
in Minecraft,
easiest one.
Oh.
Out of all of the ones that there have been, this one, easiest one.
What, Kamala?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What, can she not run fast?
Like
you're saying it'd be easier to kind of catch her?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that she would see it coming.
Yeah.
I don't think she would notice the signs. Oh, the other one where he infiltrates a militia, a right-wing militia, you would love that one.
What? Why would I love that one? Why me specifically? What do you think? What is it about me that because I'm strong and I care about the aesthetics of my body?
You would be able to appreciate the nuance of the
fictional right-wing militia.
Of the fictional right-wing militia, yeah.
Or do the
That
right
one's
wing
good.
militia? Do they end up being the good guys or the bad guys?
Oh, they're the bad guys, and they get.
Well, I don't think I would like it then. I think I might not enjoy it.
It was interesting though because it kind of illustrated the. Oh yeah, like this is probably how the United States would handle and has handled, right wing.
That's like
militia.
telling a Nazi like you should watch Inglourious Bastards. I think you'd really connect with some. It's like about these guys that sort of at the end of the film
are Nazis
kill Hitler. I think you'd really like it. What are you talking about, man? I want to be in a right wing militia. I think I would do well.
I think I'd be great.
I think
I'd rise
I could
to the ranks.
Well, I think all of those guys, their problem is that they're too much with the gear. Like they kind of go.
Yeah,
they go to the protests and they're too much with the gear, and they've got the chest thing on and they got the they're wearing cargo pants, and they're already. Some of these guys are not fun to look at already.
No, they're not fit.
I think I could kind of be. I think I could kind of be the twink of the right wing militia.
Oh my gosh!
What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna crush your dreams. Yeah, it is a problem that right wing militia guys are both overweight and wear cargo shorts. Like that doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
Cargo pants. As a guy who is overweight,
you got to pick one. You can't be both.
You can't be both. It is tough. It is tough to be a big dude. I'm not overweight, but I'm a big dude. When you're a big dude, you want stuff that hugs. It's uncomfortable, but you want stuff that's, You can't wear. Ethan can get away with baggy, oversized sweatshirts.
I feel like every time you make a comment about me, it's like a veiled. Ethan, you'd like this right-wing militia story. Oh, and also, by the way, all of your clothes are baggy and not form-fitting.
Ethan, the type of guy to pull his sweater over his wrists and go ooh woo. You're the type of guy.
Get out of my head. You don't know what I'm like. You don't know what I did in 7th grade.
Yeah.
There is a new movement that's going on right now. It's Goths for Trump. Have you seen this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't.
That's a day maker for 13-year-old
Ethan.
Ethan.
Thing.
That is a huge dub because this was not the case back in the day. It has to be.
It's a honeypot.
Yeah,
they're all feds.
Yeah, everyone's wising up. Everyone's wising up now. I was gonna say something to you that wasn't pretty. Oh, I've been watching Succession with my wife.
Great.
Because we wanted to watch a show, and I was like, you know what? I would like to rewatch this show, watch it with new eyes, because I watched it once without her. I like to pre-screen my media for my wife. Did you see Owen Cyclops' tweet about his wife? He's like, my wife is so, she's so moral, but she's also so sensitive that if she were to see a horror film, I think she would just die. Like on the spot.
Oh yeah,
because she's so good.
Yeah,
and everyone like got mad at him for that. Like, oh, how this is so misogynistic. He's like, you don't understand.
You don't understand.
And my wife is similar, where like if something scary is about to happen, or not even scary, but just something sad, I like pause it and I'm like, here's what's gonna happen. I'm just letting you know. And do you want to watch it or do you want to skip it? And she says, I want to skip it. I say, okay, we can skip it.
Okay, we can.
So that's the perk of having seen a show before.
My wife is the kind of lady to feel bad for President Joe Biden. That's like she sees him and goes, "Aw,
oh, poor guy,"
and that's why he's in office.
Well, this is what
he's there.
Phoebe, if you're listening, this is what you need to know. We don't actually, as Catholics, have to have sympathy for clones because they're not. They don't have souls, right? So we don't have to feel bad for him. We can just take him out,
Oh man.
I'm joking. I really hope the
Jack
FBI is
Reacher
not listening.
Set on us. Yeah, I really hope.
I know. Yeah, Jack Reacher.
A kid got in trouble for pretending to threaten to blow up a plane in Spain. See that?
Really?
He texted his friends, about to blow up this plane. Parentheses, I'm in the Taliban.
Okay, that's just funny. That's just a funny thing to say.
I read the text and I was like, there was a picture of a plane window, and outside the plane window is a military fighter jet.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to take the plane out.
Yeah, I remember that. I did see this.
They fined the kid $120,000.
Yeah, brutal.
Which is like, all right.
Parentheses. I'm in the Taliban is so funny.
So if we could name the show that, I would do it. If we could name the episode I'm in the Taliban, I think that's funny.
No, that would be back in the day. That's what we would have done. But now we have an image to uphold.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure this last 15 minutes on the potential assassination of various political figures and right-wing militias is going to keep us in everyone's good graces the whole time.
Listen, you can do. It's funny because you can get away with stuff like that in stand-up comedy, but apparently you can't get away with stuff like that in private text messages.
Yeah,
wild.
I know.
Wild.
I know. Big Brother's coming. I wanted to say something before we're going to talk a little bit about the interior life today, and I'm very excited. But before we do, we have two big announcements about the show. I'll say the first one, and then Patrick will say the second one. We've drawn straws because my announcement is really good and really cool, and Patrick's announcement's really kind of, it's fine.
Yeah, I drew the short straw.
But we are going to be at the National Eucharistic Congress in 2024.
We're recording a live show this year. We thought it wasn't going to happen.
We thought that Seek 24 was the end of live shows for the Crunch in 2024. But we are going to be there. We're going to be live. We're going to be, it's Friday night. I don't know the exact time. Nobody's given me a schedule. I've already booked my plane ticket.
I'm going to be there. We're going to go to Katie Ruby's house. We're going to hang out, camp outside on a yard. On her yard.
I'm going to go to Peyton Manning's statue, and I'm going to pay homage to him and his memory.
This is
May he rest in peace.
Because you remember what happened the last time we were in Indianapolis.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. Did we rent a car from an Avis?
I think it was our first live show. In Indianapolis.
We did? No, it was
wasn't it?
No.
Chicago.
No. It was Chicago. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Chicago.
It was
Chicago was the second one.
Was it? It was 2018. Not 2017.
2015, we didn't go. 2016, we didn't go. 2017,
we went. We did go.
I
went. We did.
2017, San Antonio. 2018 was Chicago.
Yeah. 2018 in Chicago. 2019. It
was Indianapolis.
Was it?
One of them was Indianapolis.
Must have been Indianapolis, and then 2020.
Oh
Phoenix.
gosh, is this what old people sound like? This is what old people sound like.
No. We beat Central High School.
We went to see the Indianapolis whippersnappers at the Old Bowl.
We didn't go to the Bahamas. We went to Turks and Caicos for our honeymoon.
Last time we were in Indianapolis, it was for a conference. I do know that for a gosh diddly darn fact.
We're taking back what's ours, and we're not making it back.
North.
Yeah, they're gonna have to pry the cold steel of a microphone from my dead hands.
That's exciting. And you don't need to register for the live show. You do need to have a day pass to go to the conference. But all the other breakout sessions, you need to have it's ticketed, so you got to register for. But you can just show up at our event. So we're going to be recording. It's either going to be Friday or Saturday night. We haven't solidified that. We are recording, so one of the prime time slots. It needs to be
Friday because my plane leaves Saturday afternoon. So
never mind. We're recording on Friday.
It needs to be on Friday.
We're recording on Friday night.
Yeah.
And so show up on Friday night if you want to see us. It's going to be fantastic. More details to come. It's going to be in the hard copy program of the actual Congress.
There are going to be pictures of us in the biggest Catholic event in America in decades.
And we're going to be there. And when in the history books, when they write this down, they're going to be like, oh, those guys from the Crunch that got publicly executed were at the conference. I figure the podcast takes a sharp turn when we make a little bit of money. Speaking of making money, my announcement is that we have a merch store again.
Woohoo!
This one is run completely automatically. We make very little money on it, but it is one of the best ways to support the show because at least it happens. So you can go on thecrunchcast.com/store and you can buy a classic Crunch t-shirt that we used to make from back in the day in a nice Crunch orange.
I have the design on right now. I can show you what it looks like.
Take off your sweater. Take off your shirt. Look at that tummy. Tummy.
Nobody look at my belly. It's not. I lied earlier about my body.
This is the design. It's one of Ethan's favorite shirts.
I wear this shirt all the time.
The shirts are extremely comfortable. So imagine that in like a burnt heather orange. Looks great.
Yeah.
And we also have a sweater, crew neck sweater in blue. And we have a Crunch mug, and we have Crunch stickers. They're all reasonably priced. And yes, please go to thecrunchcast.com/store right now and get some of your Crunch merch. I'm really excited to see. We're only announcing it here on the show. We're not going to do an ad for it because I want to see how one episode promoting it works. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll see. And if this becomes a good thing, then we'll release more collections and it's about communication, baby shirts, and you can have a whole wardrobe of Crunch stuff, high quality merchandise.
Stuff, vote with your dollars.
Oh yeah.
Tell us what you want. If we get 100 people to buy a T-shirt, we'll make more T-shirts. If everyone buys the sweatshirt, we'll make more sweatshirts. If you want something that we don't have, buy something first and then tell us what you want, because we'll take you more seriously. Yes.
Oh man. So yeah, that's exciting. Ethan.
Yeah.
Speaking of attachment to worldly goods, let's talk about detachment from worldly goods.
I will say, before we start this, I'm very attached. And so you're going to have to convince me to let go of a lot of stuff before, we can move on.
All right. I can't convince you to do anything. I'm just okay. So we've had conversations about the interior castle before when we were talking about it before the episode.
This is Teresa of Avila's famous spiritual treatise. The castle inside you.
I think we had the exact same conversation we did 4 years ago, just before the podcast, where I said, we're going to talk about the castles. And you said, I don't even think I'm in the castle. I think I'm out with the lizards. And then I said, when real lizards die, fake lizards going to multiply, which is one of the funniest. It's the first time I ever made a funny joke on this podcast. It was 2 years in. It was crazy.
10 points. So
go back to the real fake lizards going to multiply thing.
Yeah.
And tell me if that was correct, Ben. But I, whenever we talk about the interior life, I'm always like, I wonder where I am. And you're always like, I am probably at the beginning.
That's true.
I think there's wisdom in that, though.
Well, wisdom, but also just like it's hard to go anywhere if the car's in park. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. That's a good point. I was thinking the other day, I was like, I'm going through a dark night of the soul. Hasn't prayed in a week. Prayed in a week or eaten lunch today.
He thinks.
No, I was saying. I'm not saying this myself. I'm saying guys will be like, I'm in a dark night of the soul. I haven't prayed in a week and I haven't eaten lunch today. Dark night of the soul. So have you read Fulfillment of All Desire?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you know everything.
I know about Ralph.
Yeah, there's he breaks up into 3 sections, like the purgative, illuminative, and unitive way.
Yes.
And they match up pretty well with the interior castle. So it's like there's the interior castle is a spiritual treatise by Saint Teresa of Avila where she likens the soul to a mansion with many rooms. And as you progress through the journey, you go deeper and deeper into the mansions until you make it to the very center. And the kind of image is outside of the castle are all of these creepy, crawly, venomous, poisonous spiders and snakes and all this nonsense, and lizards. And you
liberals.
They poison the soul and they keep it outside, and then God rescues the soul, and the soul goes into the castles. And some of the spiders get in, some of the lizards get in, and they're constantly trying to drag you out. And there's more on the outsides. So like there's in castles 1, 2, and 3. There's more spiders, right? Because they're closer to the outside. And I think the simplest way to describe the first 3 mansions is like purging sin from your life.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that there's more after that.
Right. You'd think that if you do that, you're good.
You'd think that that's like the point of life, and that if you you're never going to be done
said,
with that. But
go and sin no more. Done. Oh, and by the way, 6 more rooms to go through.
6 more rooms to go.
Jesus, you didn't tell me about
go.
the 6 more rooms. I didn't know about that.
I was thinking about it. And
hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Which room in the interior castle is the kitchen? Because that's where I'd like to hang out.
That's where I'd like to. I pictured you like
I'm
Shaggy and Scooby with a big.
Shaggy and Scooby going through the interior castle, like Zoink Scoob.
Like Zoink Scoob.
Scooby commits a sin.
Boy.
What row gets dragged outside of the mansion?
The interior castle is so confusing because they keep doing the hallway scene where they're running in and out of all the doors and someone opens and it's like, that's what the interior castle looks like. It's the hallway running through.
Velma's looking for her glasses. She's blinded by the divine light of God's love.
She's blinded by her many sins.
Yeah. Anyway,
Ethan.
Yeah. Sorry.
So you have read then, in the devout. What is it? Fulfillment of All Desire. You have read it.
Yes.
It's a pretty thick book.
It's a big guy.
I haven't finished it.
It's a hefty gentleman. You haven't finished it?
I haven't. No.
Okay.
I got an audiobook. I have not finished Interior Castles either because
no, me neither.
I tried making it. So I read 1 through 3 and they all seemed pretty normal. Right. Like I could understand what they were. Like Interior Castle number 1 is like, okay, now I actually, it's like the sweetness. It's a battle between like the sweetness of the world and the sweetness of God. Right.
Yeah. Easy.
Does that make sense?
Right. Like I choose God.
Yeah. It's that battle. It's like that it's the Jesus high versus the high of, sin. Right. It's
the actual physical high you get from smoking mad reefer.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, the first mansion is like, I'm trying to desire the sweetness of God at all. And then the second mansion is I'm trying to desire the sweetness of God more than the sweetness of the world.
Right.
And then the third one is like I'm trying to desire the sweetness of God and completely reject the sweetness of the world. And that's hard. End of podcast.
I thought we were talking about the fourth mansion. I thought that's what the
all of this is a lead up. All of this is a lead up because this is the crazy thing. So when I noticed this when I first read it, and I noticed it's in Fulfillment of All Desire, and I was talking to Phoebe about it yesterday, and I was like, Saint Teresa of Avila says that many people make it to the third mansion, and if I'm knowing you, Ethan. Doesn't matter if you haven't prayed in a while. You're in the third mansion.
Okay.
It's anyone who is living, according to Teresa, anyone who is living a well-ordered Catholic life. Generally avoiding sin. Generally trying to become more virtuous. Genuinely trying to do the things that make you Catholic, right?
Yeah.
That make you a good person. But mixed in are some compromises,
right?
I'm going to compromise my pride. There's some snakes and lizards.
Yeah,
they're the harder ones to catch because they made it through, right?
Yeah.
And she says that many people do make it to the third mansion. It's like not unheard of. And she also says that everyone who makes it to the third mansion can make it all the way, whether you're a lay person or not. And she explicitly says that. She's like, there's many different states in life. All of them can make it to the seventh. But she also says that very few do it. And that's the part that gets me.
Why?
Is like, God calls all of these people to the third mansion. He calls all of these people right to the threshold of what would ostensibly be sainthood, right? Like anyone 4 through 7 is like, compared to everybody else, just so saintly. I mean, people say that about you and me when they're like just regular. I mean, they said that about us when we were in high school, remember? They're the good Catholic boy,
I guess so. People generally called me other names, but that but yes, I get your point.
I had a friend in high school who was like the good Catholic girl. We even made a joke about it. It was Muriel. I'll say, hi, Muriel. It was Muriel.
Hey, Muriel.
At Faithful Servant Muriel, one of our mods. We called her that. We were like, oh, Faithful Servant Muriel. Like, she's so perfect. And she was like, not, obviously,
Yeah.
She was just a little bit better than us. And it's like that kind of person is just so is a person who's in the third mansion is so far above and beyond what the average person in the world they meet is.
Mm-hmm.
And so like someone who goes a step further than that is just it's completely unthinkable.
You're like an
And
alien.
yeah, it's just absolutely insane to meet
Mm-hmm.
someone like that. So it makes sense, but it's like I take it as like a challenge, because it's like it's very challenging. You know, I'm not saying like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, because I feel like that's counter to the point. You know, like I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's like that's actually not. No, it's the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
But it is challenging, because it's like, okay, I do think that I'm here. I do think that most good Catholic people are here.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's true and we can make it all the way to the end, what's stopping us? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. I know what's stopping us.
What's that?
I mean, it's nice here in the third mansion. You know?
Yeah, when you like just desire the sweetness of God and nothing else.
Yeah, the temperature is set to a nice temperate 70 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
The kitchen is adjacent. You know, there's snacks.
It's definitely the kitchen.
It's definitely the kitchen. And it's fun, you know, like everyone's kind of here, we're all hanging out. Woohoo! But but to leave that room and to go into another room where there's no food, no crypto, no, you know, like none of the pleasures that we've come to enjoy here in the third mansion.
Yeah.
And that's the room where you have to like fast and pray and suffer silently and like allow yourself to be humiliated and sacrifice things that you really think you ought to have. You know, like give of your possessions to the point where it doesn't make sense. Like you start like things stop making sense in like the worldly way past the third mansion.
Yeah.
Because you can get here, or the third room, you can get to this place and kind of like still maintain, like you have a 401k and, you know, you don't use too much social media, you know, and like you can kind of be here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like you to get beyond this, it's like you have to give your only coat to someone and like be cold. You have to let someone live with you that has nowhere else to say. You have to spend, you know, time in prayer when you don't have time to pray. Like you need to like, there needs to start being a participation in like the weakness of Christ, I guess, you know? And that's like, nobody wants to go there because everyone wants to be in the strength of Christ, you know, where it's like, I'm good and I'm happy and like, I'm challenged enough to feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm maybe I'm just talking about my own struggle. Like this is why I can't move it beyond, because I'm just. I think
that's fair. I think that a movement from 1 through 3 to 4 to 6. I think there's a similar pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do have a theory that you can't understand any mansion that you haven't been in +1. That's my theory, is that God gives you the grace to understand what the next one is, but not the ones beyond that. If you've read Interior Castle, it's like, when I was reading it, it was like 4, 5, 6, 7 all sounded the exact same to me. I was like, I can't, that's just as unheard of in my mind. But I think that Teresa says there's a difference between spiritual sweetness and consolation. It's funny because she goes, if there weren't a difference, why would they be named two different things? Which is like, great point.
Dude, that's so funny.
Isn't that awesome?
That's just, it's like so pedantic and so
you're like,
nitpicky. I guess you're right, you know.
I guess you're right. I'm not going to argue with you. And then she goes on a big long
These two words that I made up are different.
And then she goes on a big long the reason why it's wrong. And then she goes, but I could be wrong. It's great. But I think she's like, consolation is progress. Consolation is a feeling of progress. It's like, not even a feeling, but consolation is real, tangible progress towards sainthood. Whereas spiritual sweetness, I think, would be more akin to what we would call a Jesus high. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
thing that everyone wrings their hands and gets all frustrated about. I can't believe we're giving these kids spiritual highs. This is
Yeah,
abusive.
I can't believe we're
At
allowing them
Steubenville
to
conferences.
experience the wonderful fruits of divine intimacy. How
I know
dare
that this was
we?
the first time that I ever had a religious experience, but I think it was bad that I had that in
Yeah.
hindsight.
It's like
Anyway.
people, it's like there's like a weird, it's like white people with Coming to America. Like everyone feels guilty about it because of the slavery.
Movie?
No.
Oh.
No. Like Europeans.
You mean the concept of Europeans?
Yeah. Like Europeans moving to
okay.
America. Nobody can be happy about the fact that they live in America now because we stole the land and we used slaves to build it. So it's like,
yeah.
So now people have this weird like, oh, a colonizer mindset about their own spirituality, where it's like, oh, I'm holy now, but we did it wrong.
I did it wrong. Yeah.
I did it the wrong way. It's like, well, you're still in the place that you're in, and you can't go back and change it. So like, why feel the need to wring your hands and be guilty about it? That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, I think the same spiritual highs are the same as slavery. Let me just say that now.
I think the same attitude is true when it comes to progressing in the spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you may desire it. Phoebe and I were talking about this. She's like, do I desire it because I want a sense of accomplishment? Or is it because I want God? And I was like, it's probably both. And a selfish desire for accomplishment might be there, but
yeah,
it's not going to be at the end. So whatever gets you there, I guess, like
yeah.
The whole point of the end is that everything is burned away and all of your imperfections are gone. And so if you're going there with an imperfection, hey, if it's moving you closer, it's going to either stop you or it'll get burned away or both. Who knows?
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, I think that the 4, 5, and 6 are similar in that it's instead of desiring the spiritual sweetness of God, I think, I could be wrong, it's desiring the bitterness of God. So like the step 1 to the fourth mansion is like the fourth mansion is learning how to desire God's bitterness, just like the first mansion was learning how to desire his sweetness. And then it's desiring the bitterness more than the sweetness. And then it's desiring the bitterness of God and despising the sweetness. Because the whole reason why he became a man was to die. Right. The whole that's the whole purpose of like the cross. And so that is, I think, what illumination is in the spiritual life is a deeper understanding of why he did it.
So you're saying it's like coffee. Like you start drinking coffee, you add the milk and the sugar, and then you do just the milk, and then you do the black coffee, and then you're like, oh, I only like black coffee. And then you're like, you see someone put like high fructose corn syrup flavored peppermint whatever into their thing, and you're like, ugh. How could you do that? But that's exactly where you were, at the very beginning. You were putting the high fructose corn syrup into your coffee. And so,
that's actually a perfect analogy. Yeah, I think that's
great. I might be a spiritual master, and people don't give me enough credit for that.
This is why the Catholic Church needs our podcast.
The Catholic Church needs the crunch. And if you agree, please write to Pope Francis and let him know what you think.
If someone can get the crunch an apostolic blessing, dude, you get a year of Patreon on us.
Yeah. Is there any way?
No, we can't do that. That's Simon.
Could we have the Vatican with all of their money and their tax exempt status?
Yeah, they're a country. What are you talking about? I can't believe the Vatican doesn't pay taxes.
I know.
To America.
How come? Yeah, they should.
It's a sovereign nation.
I'm just wondering if there's any room in the budget, for us.
Dude, I saw such a funny.
What'd you see?
I saw such a funny tweet that was like someone with an Israeli flag in their handle talking about Catholicism. And they were like, why does the Catholic Church get to have its own country? It's a religion, not a country. And I was like, hey man,
that's crazy.
Careful. You're about to have a weird moment of cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Shoot. Oh man. We're not going to get into all that.
Wait. We almost forgot. Sorry.
What did we forget?
The podcast. We forgot to talk about our sponsor today. It is the Good Egg Fund.
We did
Ethan, you've
forget.
heard of the Good Egg Fund. The Good Egg Fund was started by our very good friend Katie, and she said, I see so many people that want to do good things in this world, but they don't have the funds to do it. They see someone they know, they see someone they love, and they want to help them, and they can't. And so she started a really simple nonprofit where you can go to the goodeggfund.org, and you can submit a request for a grant. Now, this grant has to be $500 or less. And if you say, let you say, oh my gosh, I know a friend of mine, and he is about to have a baby, and he is just behind on his water bill,
Pants.
or he just doesn't have enough money to get his baby clothes or buy DoorDash for his wife. And I want to be able to pay for them to have meals for a week. And so you can request that grant, and then Katie will approve it, send you the funds, and you'll be able to do it yourself. And so that's a great way that you can support people around you using money that you don't have.
Yes. It's kind of like going to the bank, but instead of it being the bank giving you the money,
usurious organization,
and you having to pay interest on that money, what it is that God has an interest in you doing good.
Oh yeah.
Think about that.
Think about that for a second. And if you don't have anyone in mind that you want to get a grant for, you can go to goodeggfund.org, and you can is it the Good Egg Fund or is it Good Egg Fund?
It's goodeggfund.org.
Clarify that.
That's the URL.
You can go to goodeggfund.org, and you can become a monthly supporter of Good Egg Fund, and you can help other people help other people.
Yes. Don't support us on Patreon. Go to the goodeggfund.org and give them money.
Yeah, whatever we say later, don't listen to us. Go to goodeggfund.org right now.
Yes.
Yeah, dumb, stupid dummies over there.
Those guys in the past,
right now,
you and me, so not smart. But us, genius.
Idiots.
Brilliant.
So smart. Goodeggfund.org. Thank you to the Good Egg Fund for sponsoring this episode of The Crunch. Now back to the content.
But I was talking about the coffee because that just makes it easier for me to understand. But it's, at least with coffee, there is still something. There's like, you get the caffeine, like there's still something good about it. Or like people like the flavor, But the problem is that with God's bitterness, there's not really, you don't get caffeine and there's no flavor. It's just bitterness. It's like a cold shower, And even then, cold showers are still nice because it fires up your adrenal chromosomes and gives you a thyroid injection into your rectum or whatever. I don't know what a cold shower does.
And every time you do it, Andrew Huberman gets like a $10 tip.
Yeah, right.
He gets richer.
It's like when Cosmo and Fairly Odd Parents gets wealthy and he owns all of the oxygen, and he says, every time everyone breathes, I get a nickel, and everyone goes, and he says, pay up. It's funny. This is a great show. So that's the problem with God's bitterness, is then you turn to God and you're like, all right, I want your bitterness now, and that's what scares people away. That's what scares me away, is that it's like real bitterness, not like bitterness with a side of fun.
It's not like Exodus 90 bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you get a feeling of a sense of accomplishment. It is a real stripping away of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm probably not going to move any further, and I'll just take my licks in purgatory.
I'll just party it out down here.
Yeah.
Fine.
Maybe intentionally choosing that might be grounds to send me to hell. Who knows? It's hard to say. I'd like to progress. I'd like to move further down it's hard because people say, the saints say things like progress in the spiritual life, but you're also not supposed to see it as like things that you accomplish. It's more of a relationship and allowing God to do things in you that's just out of your control and just total receptivity. So I think that's where people get stuck, is they think that they have to go seek out the bitterness, when in reality, it's like, if you are allowing God to work in you and you're paying attention, it'll be like very clear. Like,
it'll find you.
Here's your chance, to like accept this thing that I'm offering you.
Yeah, and I think the weird thing that people have a strange mindset about it. They think that progression in the spiritual life is independent of God's will. Does that make sense? People think, or at least I think, it's, oh yes, I'm going to progress in the spiritual life, as if there's not already a plan. Like things are going to happen to me that if I choose to accept them and embrace them as God's
Right.
cross that he's chosen for me, I will progress. If not, I will not. And it's
Yeah.
not like I think when I decide I'm going to sit down and progress in the spiritual, like, oh, great, I'm going to go through the Bible in a year, and then I'm
Mm.
going to, I'm going to read the Imitation of Christ,
Mm.
maybe 3 pages a day, and I'm going to listen to this audiobook in the car. It's like I have come up with a syllabus, and God's like, that's cute.
Right.
Really, you're gonna have a fight with your wife. Like
Whoa.
that's actually what's gonna happen. That's
Yeah.
just and then you're gonna get yelled at by a client, and then you're going to get stuck behind someone in traffic, and then you're gonna give a can of fruit to a hobo, and that's a whole bag of fruit, a whole bag
And
of
then
cans of fruit.
and then your podcast co-host is going to get indicted by the Biden administration for comments made on a podcast episode. You know,
entitled Ethan and Pat parentheses I'm in the Taliban.
in the Taliban. Right. That's a lot for you to go through. I think this is going to sound crazy, but it's possible for someone to pray, do all the things that you mentioned, like read scripture every day and pray, a holy hour every day and do spiritual reading. And it's possible for someone to do that every single day and progress less in the spiritual life than someone who does not do those things
Thank you.
ever.
I got in a lot of trouble for saying that.
When?
But twice on Twitter and on Instagram, I got in a lot of trouble from people because I said what you think you need to grow in holiness is a daily Bible, a daily this, daily that, rosary, blah blah blah, seminary, marriage, and they're like, and I said what you actually need is grace, and they all said, those things are how you get grace, and I was like, third mansion vibes. Mansion vibes. Phoebe sent me a blog post. She's trying to grow in Carmelite spirituality.
In blog posts?
In blog posts. And this person wrote a whole blog post about how Ignatian meditation isn't really mental prayer. It's more for beginners. And I was like, third mansion spirituality. I'm not, it's sophomoric. The third mansion is sophomoric, right? Yeah. You've reached this height, but it's really it's not Mount Everest. You're on the top of the hill in Steubenville. It's it's the highest point around, but it's not the highest point. You've got more to go, and you think you can teach others, and you can't. You just can't, Nemo.
It's funny that you bring up Ignatius because he's the guy that I'm thinking of, where he did not lead a life of prayer or holiness at all, and then reluctantly and annoyed read the lives of the saints in the Bible, and God dragged him to the fifth or sixth mansion. Yeah. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Almost instantly, and he just was all of a sudden full of fervor and became one of the greatest saints in all of history. And it's if you look at someone like him or someone like Saint Francis or some of these other people who receive just huge inrushes of grace all at once, it doesn't track with what we've been taught of you got to make sure you do your prayers every single day and you got to do this because that gives us some amount of control. If I do all these things every day and I feel like I'm learning more about my faith, then it's like a promotion at work. God is going to give me a 5% annual cost of living increase in grace. But in reality, it's whenever he decides he's going to give you what you need.
He's going to do it. Yeah.
And that might be a whole bunch of leaps in a short period of time and then nothing for 10 years.
Yeah.
You just have to be okay with that.
Oh yeah.
So
no, it's funny. It's funny because you hear about people invent. Cal Newport says this all the time. Is people invent stories. People want to become an author and they go, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a blog and I'm going to write. And I'm going to write the book and I'm going to release it as a blog and I'm going to self-publish it. And then someone will love it so much they pay me money. And he's like, that's not how you publish a nonfiction book. And he says that to people and they're like, I don't know if that's true. And he's like, how many nonfiction books have you published? It's you don't listen to the people who have done it. We don't listen to the saints. We go, oh, I know more than them. I'm allowed to disagree with the saints. I'm allowed to disagree with the Pope. They're not the Bible. They're not God. And it's no, listen to the guy who did it. He just abandoned himself.
Yeah.
And he let God do it. And this is the danger that Teresa says of the third mansion. It's so many people are here and they've taught others and they are so far in the spiritual life that people ask them for advice and they're so far in the spiritual life that they're admired in their parish, and they're actually not progressing, and they think they're done. Yeah. And we think we're done, and we're not. We must progress.
Oh,
must
no,
keep going.
Yeah, I'm not done. I'm broken.
If you're listening to this podcast, you're not done. If you're talking on this podcast, you're even less done because you have a podcast. Right.
And if you feel too attached, to your material possessions, you think God is inviting you to the bitterness of letting go of $10 a month, you can go to patreon.com/thecrunch.
Donations are not tax deductible, so
they aren't, but they are deductible in the grand scheme of things. and I'm not going to define what that means. That's up to you.
Oh yeah.
But we do a bonus episode every Friday for the Patreon, and we go behind the scenes. If you're interested in learning about what me and Patrick are trying to do in order to take the things that we care about, our analysis of the church, our introspections about the spiritual life, and our like passion for evangelization in the way that we've learned to do it, we're trying to do this full time, and we're talking about that journey every single week and the other things that are going on in our lives in a bonus show every Friday. It's available to the patrons at the $10 a month and up level.
Yes.
And people who are on Patreon, they get a little bonus code for merch that gives them a bit of a discount. So
if you think that this episode was worth, we do 8 episodes a month, so $10 a month, that's a little more than $1. So if you think this episode was worth $1, go to patreon.com/thecrunch, donate at the $10 a month level, and we will give you another episode for free. With purchase.
Great. I don't have anything else. Patrick, do you have anything else for the people?
Pray for me.
Thank you all for listening. Please pray for us. We will be praying for you. We will see you all next time. Bye-bye. Say goodbye, Patrick.
Oh, goodbye.
Bye.